Shalom, first and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rakakadash. And I give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who will and teach all sound doctrine. And peace and blessings to the elect. Now, as you can see, this is an article by The Guardian. And it's to do with none other than Russia. But I'm going to get straight into it. Russia, Gazprom to make drastic cut to Europe's gas supply from Wednesday. State-controlled energy company says it is halting a turbine due to technical condition of the engine. The Russian state-controlled energy company Gazprom has announced a drastic cut to gas deliveries through its main pipeline to Europe from Wednesday. The Russian gas export monopoly said it was halting the operation of one of the last two operating turbines due to the technical conditions of the engine, cutting daily gas deliveries via Nord Stream pipeline to 33 million cubic meters a day, about 20% of the pipeline capacity. So what it sounds like they're saying here is they're reducing shipment by cutting off their supply to Europe. Drastic cut to it seems like they're gonna majorly reduce the supply they give to Europe in terms of gas. This is what it sounds like so far, and you have to take that into account. Gas is a form of energy. Gas in your house, let me tell you, let me give you an example of what gas in your house powers. Gas in your house powers heating, it powers hot water. Gas, if you have a gas stove, for example, that fire cannot light without gas. You can use matches all you want, but you have to, even if you're gonna light it manually, via matchstick, it still needs gas if it's a gas stove. On various other things, in your house, gas is needed, and you have to take into account, okay, if they're saying that they're gonna drastically cut down the supply, that means the gas supply in Europe, because a monopoly, it's a business term. A monopoly, in other words, I believe they hold 25% of the market share when it comes on to, well, I would say energy, but this is talking about gas, but gas is a form of energy, so I'd say energy. So I'm guessing that they hold at least 25% of the market share when it comes to energy, because that's what I was taught anyway, when going into that word monopoly. But yeah, because you gotta take into account, okay, this is gonna affect numerous different countries. There's a reduction in gas. It can lead to a whole bunch of different things. And if listen, we are getting close to the winter. Yes, okay, we're in the summer right now, but you have to understand we're getting closer to the autumn and closer to the winter. And the closer we get to them type of days, is the colder it gets. Because in the UK, we had you brothers from the US and you brothers from the UK that might be listening to my video, and even you Aquat as well, we had a really, really warm summer. It was a very warm summer. But here's this. There's never been a very warm summer in the UK that hasn't been a bad winter. If it's a good summer, the saying is it's gonna be a very bad winter. And guess what? The temperatures were setting records, 40.2 degrees. It was somewhere down in London. So we're gonna have to wait and see which way the Lord takes this. But it's the little things you have to make sure you keep your eye on, because you can't just ignore it. Because I remember I was in a taxi as well. I was on my way to somewhere, and me and the driver were having a little talk. He could be a speckled bird, because that driver was cool, and he was telling me a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, me and the driver were both in agreement. We was like, there's never been a good summer in the UK without there being a terrible winter to follow. And with the situation that they just mentioned in the drastic cut to the gas, you don't exactly know what could happen, man. Because you imagine that there's a drastic cut, and suddenly you have a lot of homes that can't power their houses, that can't have enough gas basically for their houses to carry them through the winter. Okay, they may have gas cookers. Suddenly it becomes an issue. They may not be able to cook the amount of food, because of course They may have sorry, they may have gas cookers. Their house may not be able to get warm because of the radiators, which are powered by gas. There's not enough of it, and yeah, someone might say, oh well, they could just get electrical cookers, or so like one of those electrical stove tops, or electrical power, one of those electrical heating to go around. But you know, come on, you can't mean to tell me you don't see how this could trigger a domino effect, man. Because gas from that's being cut off from a monopoly, because it didn't say it, it said it here. Um, I'm sure I see. Oh yeah, monopoly. We already know what that. I already briefly outlined, but Slovakia spent too much time on. Let me continue going down. We are monitoring the situation very closely in close exchange with the Federal Network, Slovakia Federal Network Agency, and the Gas Crisis Team. The German Economy Ministry said in a statement on Monday after Gazprom announcement. According to our information, there is no technical reason for the reduction in deliveries. But at the same time, it's Germany saying we can't understand why there's going to be a reduction in deliveries. But you can't really argue, because if if the supplier says they're going to be a reduction and they're a monopoly and they're the ones who you getting your energy from, if they blatantly tell you, hey, there's going to be a reduction and there's going to have to be a drastic reduction for X, Y, and Z, you can't really argue, because you are very dependent on them when it comes to your energy. And it's funny because a lot of these countries in Europe, moving away from the East, of course, I'm getting into like Germany, France, Switzerland, UK, them type of countries in that kind of cesspool, they're significantly wealthy, I would say. I would say that they're wealthy countries, not third world. So you have to take into account, hey, you heard things that were happening to these small countries. Well, hey, we told you that these things are gonna happen to these big countries. It's only a matter of time. Now, of course, I can't I can't stand here and say, oh, this and this is gonna happen in this amount of time, because I don't know which direction the law could take this in. I don't know what the law is gonna do, but I'm just saying this is something to watch out for. Um, okay, the Nord Stream 1 pipeline resumed pumping last week after a 10-day maintenance break, but the European Commission has warned that a complete gas shutdown by Russia is likely. The announcement came as EU governments sparred over a plan for 15% gas savings target intended to avoid a winter crisis if the Kremlin turns off the taps to Europe. And did I mention hot water? Yeah, hot water, that's gas as well. A whole bunch of stuff, in your house will be gas. That's why when, for example, something happens to the boiler, it can affect, significant amount of things. It's like, and we already had threats of a blackout, and now we're hearing something about gas. So that's if I'm not mistaken, that would be electricity and gas. So imagine something happens to the both of them. Majority of people are gonna lose their mind, and that's why the scripture says wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Because when these people are losing it, they're not understanding why this and this is happening. We're gonna understand, hey, the Lord's doing this for a reason. The Lord's ultimately, this is all happening according to prophecy, when we edge closer and closer towards Jacob's trouble and towards his return, man. The Lord told us that certain things were gonna happen, and things were gonna happen that they haven't happened to that level yet. So we have to prepare ourselves spiritually and mentally, because we have to prepare ourselves before we enter into it, because it ain't no joke, man. EU officials had hoped the Bloc 27 energy ministers meeting in Brussels on Tuesday would rubber stamp their 15% gas saving plan. And as a matter of fact, before I continue, when it comes to like how we always mention order up KO, this this could another stage thing where it allows them to bring in something draconian, it allows them to push in legislations, ultimately gearing closer and closer to the NWO, because we know the scripture says when he's about to fill his belly, that's really talking about when he's about to when he thinks he's got everything that he wants, when he thinks he's gonna be able to chip everybody, when he thinks he's gonna be able to go full fledged with his NWO, and really, this guy is never gonna be satisfied, man, because he's every time, he's gonna want more and more, you know. But hey, the Lord's just gonna cut him, arraign upon him whilst he's eating, because this is a perfect scenario for order of KO, because energy crisis with both gas and electricity, because we were hearing about warnings about blackout, I believe, early in the year that may happen in the winter. Now we're hearing about possible gas shutdowns. So that's food possibly, that triggers so many things, because food gets storage in fridges and in freezers, which are powered by electricity. You have lights, you have all different types of things. You have clocks, you have general data, you have all different types of things. Literally a collapse of electricity and gas can collapse a whole society, man. And this will be a perfect time for them to bring out their order of kill, because that's something that these devils specialize in. They love to to orchestrate a type of disaster so that they can come with a solution. But they'll appeal to your better nature. They'll be like, oh, this, it's for the greater good, it's for your benefit. But really, you know, like the scripture says in Psalms 55, I believe it's Psalm the 55th chapter, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but what was in his heart? But hold on, let me, for the benefit of you that are watching, let me get it. I believe it's Psalms the 55th chapter. Oh, here it is. Psalms 55th chapter 21 verse. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but what was in his heart? So he has, this devil has a way of saying stuff that sounds so nice, but really, it's the most, really what he's trying to say is the most evil things, but he's found a very, very nice way to say it, because he has a way with words. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords, because this guy can tell you about peace, this, peace, that, but then he'll have for example, the stormtroopers coming with the guns, you know, in terms of Jacob's trouble, he can use, you know, great force and say, oh, we're doing this for your benefit because you have these, guys causing an issue, for example, and we have to deal with this so the whole of society can benefit. Well, really, that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to fulfill, their agenda, man. Um, In fact, let me continue reading. An echo of bruising debates of Eurozone crisis 10 years ago, where arguments raged over bailouts, debts, and blame, southern countries suggested that citizens should not have to make sacrifices for the past policies of others. Spain Deputy Manager Prime Minister Teresa Ribera said last week her country was being asked to make a disproportionate sacrifice. Now you already see what's going on. What does the scripture say? If Satan's hand, Salakia, if Satan's house is divided, how then can his kingdom stand? and you have Edomites who are against other Edomites. Well, they're both Edomites. They just, you know, that's how you know their kingdom's going down, because they ain't on one accord. Because even these guys, they don't want to rule together. One wants to take charge. Uh, had made on pointed to her investments her country had made on liquefied natural gas infrastructure costs that had fallen on Spain companies and consumers. She said, unlike other countries, we Spaniards have not lived beyond our means from an energy point of view. Rivera said in an unusually pointed comments. Portugal was totally against the proposal. So right here, it looks like it's giving you a list of the countries and what their reaction was to this. The proposal, its energy minister Joa Galamba told local media last week, saying they did not make address the needs of Spain or Portugal, which have little gas interconnection with the rest of Europe. The Iberian countries are also using more gas to generate electricity because a fierce drought has reduced hydropower production. Greece also opposed the 15% EU-wide target, which argues overburdens its economy and consumers. Meanwhile, Poland has raised concerns about its energy security. A Polish official said Warsaw not agree to any solution that may lead to the use of Polish natural gas reserves for the needs of other member states. France, Italy, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Poland were among countries that opposed giving the Commission the power to declare a supply emergency. Instead, it proposed EU member states make a critical decision. On the revised proposal, which was still being discussed by the EU deputy. So as you can see, we have two divisions. One group want to do one thing, and the next group want to do another thing. Uh, by the EU ambassadors on Monday, countries can get an exemption from the 15% target if they're not connected to the gas interconnected system of any other member state. Oh, okay. You know, it's ultimately, it doesn't matter what they have to say. It's ultimately which direction the Lord has it going and what His will is, because we know that the Lord is ultimately in control of all this. The target can also be erased if countries offer to send gas to a member state in need. EU sources reject suggestion the plan was designed for Germany, arguing all member states would feel the economic pain of a Russian gas shutdown. I don't buy the logic that all this is for Germany, said one EU official. It's not about who will be hit first, because if a supply shock hits, I think the problem will be immediately shared. We are in the internal market, and the pain will be substantial for all member states. So in other words, the pain, is going to be serious. Oh, that's it. Oh, that looks like the end of the article. Let me just finish reading and then close it out. The European Commissioner, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen last week said it was likely the Kremlin would order a complete shutdown of Russian gas to EU, dealing a hammer blow to the uh, European single market. EU officials have suggested countries speed up the shift to renewables, but also said states could delay exiting coal and nuclear power. Belgium's government announced last week it had reached a political agreement to extend the life of two nuclear power plants by 10 years, citing no, we don't have 10 years. We don't have 10 years, man. Citing national security, the dual 4 and Daihang 3 reactors will be We started in 2026. Now we know at some point they're gonna beat their plowshares into pruning hooks, and it's interesting that they mentioned nuclear power plants. So like I always say, we're gonna wait and see. Will be restarted in 2026 as Belgian government revised a plan to exit all nuclear power by 2025. But anyway, I want to close out there. I pray this lesson was edifying, and in closing, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakadash. Until next time, Shalom.